Well, hello, Junior Church. I hope you're all well and enjoying your time back at school. Now, please remember, you got to keep safe, wash your hands, and listen to your teachers and your parents, okay? Now then, can you remember the JC lessons that we've been learning about so far? No? Well, I'll tell you. I'll remind you, okay? First, we heard from Nancy, and she spoke about God feeding Elijah, and that was the power to provide. And then we heard from Paul, and he spoke about God helps a family, and that was the power to amaze. And then thirdly, we heard from Christina, and she spoke about how God shows his power, and that was the power to protect. Well done if you remember any of the sessions. Well, today's session is we're going to hear from God. We're going to hear that God speaks to Elijah and the power to judge. And we have to know this, that even the most powerful people aren't as powerful as God. Okay, and our story today comes from 1 Kings 21, verses 1 to 19, and 1 Kings 22, verses 29 to 40. This is a very exciting story. So put your ears on, let's go, let's listen, and here we go, okay? Now then, where are we? A man named Naboth owned a vineyard in Jezreel, near the palace of king of Israel. One day, Ahab said to Naboth, "Give me your vineyard, since it's near my palace. I want to make a vegetable garden." Okay? "I will give you a better vineyard, or, if you prefer, I'll pay you for it." Right? Naboth answered, "May the Lord keep me from ever giving you my land, because this land was given to me by my family." Right? So Ahab went home. He was very angry. Very, very angry. Can you put on an angry face? I don't know. I think that's it. Anyway, Ahab was very angry, so he goes home and he lay down on his bed, he turned his face to the wall, and then he refused to eat. He was sulking like the big, big baby that he is. Then his wife walked in, Jezebel. She came in, she asked him, "Why are you so upset? And why are you not eating?" And Ahab turned around and he says, "Well, I spoke to that man called Naboth, from Jezreel, and I asked him to sell me his vineyard, and he refused. I even said to him, 'Well, if you prefer, I'll give you another vineyard.' But still he refused." Oh, wow. And then Jezebel turned around and she says to him, "Is this how you rule? And you're the king of Israel? Shame on you." She says, "Get up out of bed. Go and eat some food. Cheer up. I will get Naboth's vineyard for you." Well, she was very determined, wasn't she? Wow. But all things were not as it seemed, because Jezebel arranged for some bad men to tell lies about Naboth. Wow. She's not very nice, is she? The people believed the bad men, and they took Naboth outside the city and threw stones at him. Poor Naboth, he was powerless, and he couldn't stop them. And they carried on throwing stones until he died. Oh, Jezebel's not a very nice lady, is she? Now, let's carry on reading this. Let's hear what happens, okay? So, at this time, when Jezebel heard that Naboth had been killed, she told Ahab. She said, "Well, Naboth of Jezreel is dead. Now you may go and take the vineyard for yourself." When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he left. So he went to the vineyard to take it for himself. But at this moment, what happened? The Lord spoke to Elijah. Now, do you remember who Elijah is? He was a prophet from Tishbe. The Lord said, "Go to Ahab, king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. He is at Naboth's vineyard, and he's trying to take it for his own. Tell him, Ahab, that I, the Lord, say to him, 'Ahab, you have murdered Naboth and have taken his land. So I tell you this, in the same place that Naboth died, you will die as well. Ooh, that doesn't sound very nice, does it? But anyway, let's carry on reading because this is getting exciting still, you know? So what had happened? Sometime later, Ahab, who is the king of Israel, as we know, and Jehoshaphat, the other king of Judah, they decided they were going to war against another king, the king of Syria. Now then, these guys were bad guys, I think. Yeah, I think they're bad guys. Let's hear what they were doing now. Okay. Now then, Ahab, at this point, he said to Jehoshaphat, remember they're on the battlefield now, just before going on to the battlefield, he said to Jehoshaphat, this is what he says. He says, I will go into battle, but I will change my appearance. In other words, I will go in disguise. Right? And you can go in your royal clothes. You can go in your king's clothes. Does that sound a bit dodgy to you? Anyway, let's carry on reading. Okay, right. So what happened is that he changed his appearance and they went into battle. And then the king of Aram, who they're fighting against, right, had 32 chariot commanders. He ordered them, don't fight anybody else except for the king of Israel. So they were actually after Ahab all this time, right? Now then, let's hear what happens. So they turned to attack, but Jehoshaphat, they turned to attack when they saw Jehoshaphat, they actually turned to attack thinking that he was King Ahab. Oh, but Jehoshaphat said, no, it's not me. You know, and he put his hands up. So they turned around and they saw that it was not Ahab. So they stopped chasing him. And then something very strange happened. One of the soldiers pulled his bow and arrow back and he shot his arrow aimlessly. Didn't aim at anybody in particular. And the arrow found its way straight to King Ahab. Just imagine that. And it shot him. The arrow hit him in a place that was not covered by his armor. Okay? The King Ahab said to his chariot driver, turn the chariot around. Take me out of this battle. I'm hurt. The battle continued all day, and King Ahab was in his chariot, leaning against it to hold himself up, and he was facing the Arameans. And his blood flowed down and covered the bottom of the chariot, and that evening he died. Now then, as powerful as King Ahab thought he was, who was more powerful? Who do you think was more powerful? And as evil as he was, him and his wife, who do you think was more powerful? That was God. See, the thing at hand is, what have you learned from this, kids? That the people that are most powerful or think that they are powerful aren't as powerful. God is the most powerful. But God also protects the powerless. He looks after the weak and he looks after the powerless. So anytime you're feeling weak or powerless, you just put your trust in God, look up to the Lord and pray to him. Know that he will be your provider and protector. He will judge those that need judging and he will protect you. Okay, now tell me, do you remember your memory verses? No? Well, let's remember it. I'll remind you. And that comes from Ephesians 3, verse 20. And it goes something like this. Now all glory to God, who is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. Okay? Shall I say it again? Ephesians 3, verse 20. Remember it. Now all glory to God, who is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. Okay, so remember it for next time, yeah? Now then, before we close, I'd just like to say, please, 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 go onto our church website, go onto JC website, and don't forget to do all the activities, because those activities are going to help you tremendously with all your JC sessions and for learning more about God, getting closer to God. Yeah? And please, if you're struggling, ask your parents to help you out. Yeah? God bless. See you soon. Bye.